We helped a solo esthetician to 4x her monthly revenue by making 3 small changes inside of her business. And in this video, we are going to walk through those 3 changes. Hi, my name is Kajana. Most people call me Cage. I am the head, well, technically the term is managing member, but that's fancy. I'm the head of Powered by Aloha, which is a revenue operations automation agency. Basically, we build automations that help small businesses to make more money more consistently over a longer time period for more customers and help them do that over and over again by, operationalizing the elements of their business around making more revenue. And in this video, we're going to talk specifically about this one-person esthetician shop and what it is that we did to help her 4x her revenue. So with that, let's jump into it. So first, let's always start with the idea of bottlenecks. So what are bottlenecks? Bottlenecks are things in your business that will bottleneck the growth of your business. When a business is running properly, air quote, then as soon as the business owner decides to, they can begin scaling up the revenue and scaling up delivery. But what usually happens is that there are bottlenecks that exist in the business that, truncate or slow down performance. So when we look at bottlenecks in our philosophy, bottlenecks fall into 4 categories. Unnecessary friction, which are things that you do and or that need to get done that do not get done as well as possible just because they are, friction filled. There's poor work quality. Basically, the work sucks and it needs to be done better. Delivery specifically. Then we have delayed timing. It takes a longer time than anticipated for things to get done, which is typically a sequencing problem. And then the leads are just broken. The leads don't have money, which, how more specific can we get around broke leads or not? So let's paint the picture of the scenario that is this esthetician. So the facts. This person ran an in-person esthetician business. And at this time, she was doing 1.5K in rev, and she was only doing about 300 in expenses. Very low cost. Basically just her rent and her materials, because she already owned a lot of she already owned a lot of things, so she didn't have to buy any more things. So that's where her business was. Now in her business, she got her clients from Google and Yelp. That was how she got new clients the primary way. People would go on Google and search specifically for the term either lash lift, because she was a top provider in the area for lash lifts, or they would search for the term that was teeth whitening. She was the only non-big box teeth whitener in the area. So those are the 2 things that people looked for, and that's how they found her. Now, an issue she currently had at the time is that on average, she had 4 bookings per day. But of the 4 bookings, only 2 bookings would show. 2 bookings showed per day. Now, that's a big problem, because imagine if you're blocked out for, let's just use an hour as a very easy way to think about it. If you're blocked out for 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, that's 20 hours spent blocked. But if only half of them show up, 10, that means in the case of an in-person business, having to go to the shop or sit around in the shop is a waste of time, because you're basically quite literally burning time not working on clients. And because you don't know until 10, 15, 20 minutes later that someone's not showing, you essentially just wasted time, which sucks. So that was her stats. And then at the time, her average order value, right, the amount that someone paid on average per service, was about $84. And now she's an esthetician, so her services range quite a bit from, waxing to eyebrows to laminations to lash lifts, teeth whitening, skin lightening, a whole bunch of things. But like her core products were the lash lifts and the teeth whitening. But if we look at everything that was currently available at the time, it was $84, because in her business model, a lot of her clients were coming in tries. I saw this thing on Instagram, let me try this. Oh, I saw this thing on TikTok, let me try this. So a lot of her first time clients were coming in tries, and then, which goes into actually to the next problem, and that is first time clients paid an average of $90. But she can only rebook 40%. Now, why is this important? So that means she had 100% of clients who came in and would buy something, but only 40% would come and buy again. The reason this is a problem is if we think about it, you would want people to buy again more often. Imagine if every single client who ever came to her bought again, the likelihood that she would make more money would just continue going up. So in this model, she had to get new clients every month in order to maintain the amount of money that she made. And this is important because, again, if we have 100% of first-time clients but only 40% buy again, then there's a huge delta on 60% of people. To use this analogy from earlier, if she serves 10 people in a week, but only 4 of them come back next month, she has to go and hunt not just 6 more people, but an additional 10 appointments on top of that in order to make it all work. So that's super important. And again, her clients were coming in first-time tries. Ooh, I saw this thing, let me try it. So these are all the facts. So if we kind of look through this, what do we begin to see? The first thing we have here is this difference, right? That is 4% booked per day, but only 2 bookings showed. So that is definitely an unnecessary problem or unnecessary friction problem. Actually, let me make that in red. So her first problem is right here. 4 bookings. Whoa, that is huge. That's not what I wanted. What the heck? Okay, let's try this again. Yeah. 4 to, that's a 50%. It's not very good. So, first unnecessary friction was show up rate. Quite a while back, actually, when I was talking about the 4 to 2. So we're looking at this and we ask ourselves, what is the biggest problem? So the first problem that I can immediately see is this 4 to 2 booking. That's a 50%. 50% is not very good in really any business model, but in person, that's horrible. It should be around the 80% mark. So we know that was the first issue, which was show up. So what I did was I asked her, all right, walk me through your existing workflow to get someone to show up after they book. So she says, okay, so what happened is someone will book, and we're gonna make it one here. They'll book. After they book, this person, the service provider, send a text to confirm, send confirmation text, and then the day of, she sends them a 2-hour reminder text, all text. So I'm like, okay, that makes sense to me. So I immediately saw, well, we can just automate all of that. So what's the very first thing that we did is we automate reminders. Reminders, man. I am getting the hang of this. I'm actually getting better. That's what's up. Reminders. Auto reminders. Auto parts. Not same. So what we did is we took this concept and we just streamlined it and automated it. So what happened is we set it up so that when someone books, they immediately get a confirmation text, but they would also get a 24-hour, depending on what time of day it was, morning. Okay, I lied. This is not getting better. Then we would send them a 2-hour, and we would send them a 15-minute. So like, okay, let's test this out and see how it goes. So we went and tested this for over the course of 2 weeks, and her 4 bookings went up to, in the 2-week time period, it went up from 2 to 4. So she had a 100% show up rate, which, is awesome, and it's unrealistic for an extended time period. That's not really how it goes unless you collect a card in the beginning. But again, we're not talking about that. We're talking about what we actually did. So we went to that and we got 4. I'm like, okay, awesome. Now you are getting all your appointments showing up and people are booking. So now she's making a bit more money. Just by making this change, she's doubled her money. 2x. Because she simply has more show-up rates. So then we're talking. She's like, hey, a big issue that we're having, and this is me pointing this out, or looking at her, is, she's only getting, let's change this color back to red. She's only getting 40% to buy again. Ooh, that's not the same red. That's gonna irritate me. They were not buying again. So I said, I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay, why is it that they aren't buying again? And she explained, well, what happens is they come in, I deliver the service, and I say, would you like to rebook another appointment? And they would say, oh no, we're good at this time. And I thought to myself, well, if you know that your clients are the type who come and try things, maybe the issue is you're trying to rebook them before they found a new thing to try, or before they know they need the service again. Because if they know they love this thing, why would they buy it again? Maybe they want to test it out. So I said, okay, cool. So let's make 2 changes. Or first, rather, the bottleneck. So the bottleneck issue was, again, in the unnecessary friction. And that was, this time, oh, wrong color. The unnecessary friction was timing. Let me explain. So she would attempt to book them again. And when she would attempt to book them again, they're like, no, we're good. I'm good. I just want to try this out. This is the first time I've ever done it. I want to see if I love this or not. So I told her, how about we make 2 changes? The first one is, right now, your average order is $84. Wrong red. Haha, I caught myself before this time. $84. What if instead we make 2 changes? The first change, actually, let me move my face real fast because I see that I'm blocking. Boop. Magic. It's crazy. And I made myself smaller. Technology is great. So I said, let's do 2 things. One, let's increase the price of all of your products so that the average order, wrong color, if they buy a single product, is now $120. But if someone comes in for the first time, you're actually going to give them a discount. So they're only paying about $100. $100. Now they're incentivized to come in for the first time because they're going to save approximately $20. Pretty good motivator for this price point. But here's where it gets really good. Because we want them to buy again, what we do is when they come in, you communicate they get this discount and they're only going to pay $100. But if they want to prepare for next month, what we would do is we would offer, if they commit to 3 months in a row, 3 months, then the next 3 payments would each be $100. And in this model, when they paid, they would get notified it's time for them to come in and book their next service. So by doing all these at once and making these changes, let's look at what we're able to do. One is just by increasing the price to $120, the front end price, and then offering it at $100, that's already a $16 increase per average order value. Nothing crazy, super chill. But by then setting it up so that if they want to get services next month and they can keep this price, this is the important part, they get to keep the $100 price instead of paying $120, then they would put money down right now in order to claim this pricing, which then allow them to collect money up front, and then people would show up again. So we installed this and we tested it out for a month. By doing this, we were able to go from a 40% buy again to a 90% buy again. And it gets better. Not only did we get the 90% buy again, because we essentially doubled the number of people who bought, she doubled her business again. Just because she got people, or rather, maybe not double her business, that's not the correct term. She was able to double her revenue again because she had people buying again. They would just come back. So if someone bought today, they buy again next month. Boom, doubled her revenue again. And all we did was change the timing of payment. Okay, I'm just going to put, no, that's not what I want. I'm just going to put a money sign. Boom. Okay, cool. So then that happens, and now we're looking at her business, and it goes by for a month, and she's like, oh man, I'm making so much money. And now I really want to get more clients. And I'm like, okay, tell me more. She's like, well, like I told you before, most of my clients come in from Google and Yelp. And I'm like, okay, so let's go and look at your Google and Yelp reviews. So I went on to her Google and her Yelp, and I looked. Between the two of them, she actually only had 20 reviews. And I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. That is not really anything. And if anyone knows anything about in-person businesses, Google reviews are the number one driver of in your business. And the more Google reviews you have, then the likely higher you rank higher from an AEO, or I mean AEO nowadays. That's AI engine optimization, or GEO, generative engine optimization, depending on who you talk to. But for SEO, whoever is number one always gets the most amount of clients. That's just how it goes. But she only had like 20 reviews between Yelp and Google. So I said, oh, well, that's a problem. So I told her, so how do you currently get the reviews? She said, well, after someone pays, I ask them, could you leave me a review? Most of them say, oh yeah, I'll totally do that, but they don't. For whatever reason, they get busy, they forget, they don't care, they lie. Who knows? That part doesn't really matter. But they don't leave the review. So I said, okay, that's a very easy fix. Here's exactly what we're going to do. So when we think about this from a bottleneck perspective, what is the issue again? Unnecessary friction. So what did we do? 3 is we just automated review reminders. Whoa, crazy. I think by now you can probably see a trend of what's happening. Reviews. So what we did was, because we had this new booking system in place on how people paid, if every time someone paid, it would send an automated SMS asking for a Google review. If they did not respond to it, it would send a second SMS and a third SMS. And then it would just stop. And then if they had not submitted a Google review by the time they pay again, it would then send them the first SMS and the second SMS and the third SMS. So they got 3 touches after buying, asking them for a review. And it would repeat over and over until they actually left a review. Then what we would do is, after they leave the review, we would put them on a 2-month break where they would no longer get the SMS messages because they left a Google review. After that, we set it up so that it would then send them 1, 2, and 3 SMSs again for Yelp this time. So it would be an organic and different review than the Google review that they left, to cover all angles. So just by doing this over the course of 3 months, she went from her approximately 20 Google reviews to having over 200 Google reviews, and she did not change anything else in her business. Everything was the exact same. Not a single thing changed other than adding in the automated review collection process. And in doing so, she was able to pick up more clients. Now, at the end of the day, after we go through this entire thing and where her business started and where it ended, when we stopped working together, or rather when we started, she was at 1.5K in revenue. By the time we were done, she was averaging 6.7K a month in revenue. And these are all the changes we made. We didn't change how she sold. We didn't add new offers. We didn't reduce pricing. We just added in 3 automations. 1, the auto reminder, so that people were being notified consistently to show up. 2 was the timing of money collection and rebookings. We increased her price, made a good offer, and then set it up so that people would pay and then be notified to come in and get the next thing they want to try. And by doing that, we were able to double the amount of money she made. And then finally, we just automated reviews so that every time someone came in and paid being the trigger activity, it would send them 3 SMSs until they left a Google review. We put them on break for 2 months, and then it would then begin the 1, 2, 3 message again in order to collect a Yelp review. And in doing that, we took her from 1.5K to 6.7K, which is, if I do the math on that real fast, I can give you a very specific number. 6.7, 1.5. That is a 4.46 increase in revenue, total ROI, from just 3 reminders. And that's every month. So she went from 1.5K every month, which if we annualize that, that being times 12, 1.5 times 12 is 18K. So she went from 18K to 6.7 times 12, 80 grand. Jesus. Now that I look at the math, I'm like, that's crazy. And it also explains why she bought a new car. So this is exactly what we did in order to solve the bottlenecks of this one-person esthetician business. We looked at the issues. What were the actual problems happening, and what system, automated and or slightly systemized and or streamlined, could we install in order to make the work happen easier, smoother, with less friction in her case. Now, not all businesses are always in the friction category. It really varies based upon where they are. But on her side, because there was very little technology in her business, it was primarily friction and the way that things were priced. So if you run a small in-person business and you are struggling to make the revenue you'd like and to make the profit margin, aka your take-home money that you'd like, we would love to help you. Somewhere below this video is a link to book a call. Go ahead, book that. Let's talk about what we can do to eliminate the bottlenecks in your business so that you can scale revenue and delivery tomorrow. And with that, thanks so much for your time. Talk to you later.